Hello and welcome. Thursday edition. It's Coach's Corner. This is a great one. I'm really anticipating this one. You know, each and every Thursday, we get a chance, both Dave Serrano and myself, we get a chance to talk with college coaches all over the country, all levels, all divisions. This week, Dave is out at Show Ball in Boston, and it's a busy week for him. But I'm really excited we get to spend a Coach's Corner session with somebody who is a tremendous college coach, just left TCU, but he's going home. And so we're happy for TJ Bruce, head coach at Long Beach State University. And first of all, congratulations, TJ, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Walter. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. You know, you get chills when you just mentioned that Long Beach State head coach. Something that's always been, you know, a dream of mine, which from here, growing up here and then playing here and starting my coaching career here and sitting in the same office that the great ones before me have sat in. I'm super humbled to be here.
Well, I mean, you've obviously paid your dues. I mean, you're coming from what you can consider a staple at Omaha with Kirk Saarloos at TCU. And now you get to drive your own bus. You get to pilot your own plane. In your home, and that has to feel good in your heart, good in your soul. But, you know, from a baseball perspective, you know, you get to, I don't want to say rebuild, but you get to be a part of taking Long Beach to Omaha and creating your own style of baseball. What is this like for you as a head coach, and what are you looking forward to doing with regard to your recruiting and your current student athletes?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot, right? You're drinking through a fire hose right now. You know, probably multiple fire hoses. I think just during this time, you're just trying to really evaluate things. I think, you know, when I got the head job at Nevada 9 years ago, you know, I was 32, and you know, I was going to run in and do things my way, and regardless of really what happened or what the repercussions were. I think now I fast forward. Had a chance to do that for 7 years, had a chance to spend 2 years with Kirk, and a great leader and great coach that he is. And then I had a chance to really sit back and learn. So right now, spend a lot of time evaluating just really where the program's at. And I don't even know if it's a rebuild. I think what I'm trying to do is I'm just the caretaker of the program. Really, this program belongs to the alumni. It belongs to the former players. It belongs to Dave Snow, Mike Weathers, and all the great coaches, Coach G, and all the great coaches before me. I'm just trying to do the best job I can at making the Long Beach community proud, number one, because this thing's a citywide deal. It's not just a school. It's about the city of Long Beach. And then number two is making the Long Beach State baseball family really proud of the product that we put out. Whether, you know, I can't guarantee, you know, 45 wins, 40 wins, none of that, but I can guarantee the way that we're going to go about things will make the community really proud.
One of the great things about being a former player, and that is your hometown, I mean, you really want to represent Long Beach. Now, truth be told, I've been out there several times as part of the area code games. Vanderbilt played Long Beach back in 2014. Blair Field, beautiful field, especially if you're a pitcher. But the big thing about that community is very passionate about baseball. They're involved. They're engaged. Talk a little bit about the style of play, the things, you know, that Long Beach has always been kind of, you know, thought. Troy Tulowitzki, Weavers. I mean, you're talking about elite major league talent that's rolling through Long Beach. And obviously now you back at home at the helm. That's something you want to bring back, that excitement at Blair Field.
Yeah, and I feel the excitement too, just from the former players. You know, anybody that's played here, I've heard from a lot of alumni from different eras and different decades, which has been incredible. Had a chance to have some of those former teammates of mine, like Jared and Jason Vargas, were at the press conference, which was really cool to have them back to Blair. Even talking to Evan quite a bit throughout this whole process. But the community is really proud of what I think's to come. And Bobby Smither and our AD has started that excitement here at Long Beach. He's done a tremendous job with this athletic department. He's been here 1 year, or I guess coming up on a year, but I can't thank him enough for his trust in me. But getting back into what I think I want and what I know the community wants is there again, it's the product, it's the style to play. The Dirtbag brand was never something that was worn across the jersey. It was only a style to play. Right. So part of it's discipline. And I think that what that entails is the consistency of behavior, doing things like you like to do them when you don't want to do them. Right. That's everyday life. That's one of them. Integrity, responding, toughness. What's toughness? Competitive toughness, overcoming adversity. I think the one thing about the Dirtbag program is it's a brotherhood. And I think most programs have that. And it's just kind of that unique. We all wore the same jersey. We all went through the same things, and we all stand for the same core values. And I think that's something that's really important in bringing back. I think one of the things that I think at this stage in the game that's going by the wayside is a team first mentality.
Bingo.
That's what Long Beach State was. It was taking a lot of different guys and making them under the LB, under that special LB that you're wearing, and creating this team first, do anything at any time, play anybody at anywhere at any time, and create this culture. Because we're in a time right now where it's not really about team first. It's about what can I get from it. You're seeing it in the NIL era. And it's really, and you're seeing it really in my kids. I got a 10-year-old son and an 8-year-old son, and you're seeing it in them, and I'm almost going against the grain, right? Because I am a coach, but I do believe in the old values that we were all raised in. I do think the pendulum's going to swing back at some point, maybe not all the way back, but it's going to swing into that even spot, I hope. But that's really what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create all those things that's the standard of play. That's the standard of how you're going to go about your life. That's the standard of what you're going to do when you attend class. That's what Long Beach State baseball means to me. And that's what it was. And that, in my opinion, that's the Long Beach community as a whole as well.
One of the things I really want to do a deeper dive that I think you're able to do this, whereas most coaches don't really, that recruiting component in the world that we're living in today. I don't think parents understand things like synergy, the video that gets captured and coaches have access to. The ability to evaluate talent. What are we looking for? Can you just kind of I want to widen the lens a little bit for student athletes and families. You just hit on something. When you're playing in these summer tournaments, it's a lot about me, and there's not a lot of attention on the we, because you're really, in some cases, only a part of a program for a week or a month, and you're not really, engaged, involved as a team in a deep capacity. Can you talk about recruiting and some of the ancillary things over and above analytics or metrics that you are looking for in a potential student athlete now at Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, number one is part of creating the culture that you're trying to create is you got to have values, and you got to have core values, or you got to have a code, right? You've raised a family, so you have a code that your family lives by. And I think that's part of it. And we have a code that the Long Beach State Dirtbag baseball program is going to operate by. And bottom line is, if you don't fit into that code, then this isn't the right place for you. And that's okay. That's good. But those are some of the things. That's just one thing that we're trying to do. I think obviously culture is driven through recruiting. I really do. And I think, like you said, the metrics are great. And the 95, the radar gun is awesome. But I think it's how I learned to recruit, just from a physical standpoint, was from not going out with the radar gun so much. I try as much now not to use the radar gun as much as I like to do it sometimes, but I try not to. And why? Because I'm trying to look for what the game's telling me. I'm trying to look for the delivery, because the delivery tells you quite a bit of things. The arm slot tells you what the pitcher can and can't do, what he'll have trouble with. The hitter will also tell you what the pitcher, if there's deception, if there's swing and miss, if there's the new term ride or whatever to the fastball. Those are different things that I think you can put a number on them, but I also think if you can evaluate from a lens of not using a number, I think you're going to have more concrete things. Now going the other side, right, is reestablishing, I think culture, right? Action is visible. I think that's a big deal. Action's visible, right? So what's it look like? What's it feel like? What's it sounds like? And so from all those things, now you're diving into a team first. Does this guy want to be at Long Beach State? You know, that's a big deal. Does he want to be here? Does he want to? Why does he want to be here? You know, that's another one. Why do you want to be here? What do you know about Long Beach State? Right? What do you know about the history? Not just come in and tell me your stats, because that I can see the stats and I can see the swing and I can see certain things. But are you the first? It's just like with my own son. I was at practice yesterday, football practice. I was most proud of him yesterday because he was the first one on the field, first one off. Like those things still hold value, because what I do think that shows is you're being really good at what you can control. And as we know, this game will eat you alive if you are hanging on to the result part of this game. It will eat you alive. And so you need to be able to be really good at what you can control. And your response is the most important thing you can do with life. How you respond to good news, how you respond to bad news, how you respond to success, right? We all know that's not easy as well. But how you choose to do those things, those are things that we're looking for. And I think I can give you on the recruiting side, I call it the 6 C's, what we talk about quite a bit. What we're looking for from a team aspect on recruiting is connection, right? Connection's number one, right? How are you connected to your teammates? How are you connected to your coaches? How are you connected to the game, right? That's number one. That's something that I feel like you can see, right? Number two is character, right? What's your character like when you're doing good? What's it like when you're doing bad? You know, we're in this mode now where people run down to first base and they don't touch the bag. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand that. Right. So the other part's consistency. The other part's communication. How well do you communicate with your teammates? How well do you communicate with, if you're a shortstop, are you communicating with the left side? Are you communicating with the second baseman? You know, what I don't love is we all have gone to these wristwatches or these things in your ears, and you're not doing open mouth, closed mouth anymore on every single pitch. You're not paying attention to that stuff anymore. So therefore, what you're seeing, and I see it all the time, is guys aren't at the bag on time. Guys don't know when to be at the bag. You know, competence is a big deal, right? The ability to be successful and efficient. Right? That is something that is so overlooked because we just always want the best player. I get it from a physical tool standpoint, but are you competent? Can you retain the information and then apply it? And then the last one, I think here, and this is going to sound crazy, but the last one's courage. And why do I look for the courage thing? Because I think the best players and the best people at their jobs aren't afraid to fail. We all went on a limb at some way, shape, or form, and we can't be afraid to fail. And that's the one thing that I feel like in this industry right now, in life in general, is we're tiptoeing. We're halfway in, we're halfway out. We're afraid to plant the flag and stand up for what we believe in certain aspects. We're afraid to say, no, this is how I play. This is what I do. And I think the other part of courage is I like people with scars, because it shows you courage. It shows you you've been through some things. So everybody's scars look a little different. So that's what we're trying to look for. To be honest, we call them the 6 C's, and that's something that we evaluate every single day.
Well, this is part of the reason why I was really excited to have you on, because one, your passion and your energy they're absolutely an 8. I mean, they are always on point. And I think it really serves parents, families, student athletes well to hear the realities of this whole entire process. I think we get so caught up in name, image, and likeness and transfer portal and all of these, but we don't listen to what the coaches are actually saying. And it's really different than the showcase narrative or the travel, not to throw shade on anybody, but it's different than what the narrative is during the summer for some. I want to let parents know that, you know, TJ Bruce, brand new hire at Long Beach State, and part of the baseball blue book is all of your updated information, all of the new coaching changes, all of the new coaching staff changes are all available in the blue book. So you want to download the blue book. It is free, and it gives you all the information that you need as a family for Long Beach State and Coach TJ Bruce. TJ, I really want to dive now a little bit more into the portal, but I don't want to talk about it from a recruiting purpose. I want to ask, are coaches now, after a few years of this, kind of saying, hey, I don't want to be re-recruiting my athletes year after year. I'm going to really focus on my team. I'm going to, ride with the horses that are riding with me, and I'm going to develop those guys. And if somebody decides they want to exit, that's fine. But are the days of re-recruiting athletes slowly, fading away? Are we really starting to focus on building that culture, that team, as opposed to trying to keep guys happy year in and year out?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. My first time around as a head coach, I mean, the portal, I think it just got started maybe the last few years, and you still had to sit out a year. So I felt like you were still building a culture and you were still building your organization for long term. I think there's a way to do that. But Jay Johnson said it best. He said it's about building teams, and that's where the portal's gone. Now, with that being said, I think what it's going to do personally is it's going to challenge the old school type mentality to focus from the coach now just being a more of a dictator to focusing now on the relationships and the connection with the player now, because I still think you can still have the connection with the player and you can still communicate, and they may want to go on to greener pastures. And that is what it is. I don't think you're ever going to hide that, but I think now it's more going to challenge us, which in everyday life, right? You want to talk about a growth area for, let's just say myself, that's a growth area for all of us, is to stay connected. And you want to talk about being in the moment and being available physically and mentally from a coach's perspective, and vice versa from a player's perspective. I think it's more heightened now than it ever has been, because I think actually the other way of the portal, when you were building teams, is, you may have checked out because you knew you had Tulo in front of you, or you knew you had Weaver in front of you. You'll just get yours tomorrow. Well, now I actually think the player now needs to work on being more available physically and mentally and trying to learn that skill as fast as he can, because he's not only trying to get the job now, but he potentially, sounds terrible, but trying to showcase what he can do and showcase his aptitude for long term. Now, I don't love that, but I think it's just how you're going to spin it. I think, I use this term hope dealer versus a hope stealer. I think the part is we have to be very, very aware of the times, and we have to be growth minded. And so the fact of the matter is, I know that's on the forefront of this thing, and we need to embrace it as best as we can. And our job is to teach the game every single day in and day out, teach life through the game. And, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But knowing that we did that and we've built that communication, we built that connection, let the pieces fall where they fall after that.
Absolutely. Some of those, I'm going to be stealing some of that. Hope dealer versus hope stealer. I'm using that. I'll make sure I put your name on it. Talk to me about the high school athlete. Everybody's is anybody recruiting high school athletes? The parents are all up in arms. The high school athlete seems to be getting forgotten. There is a place for the high school athlete, but in my opinion, they need to realize it's a big boy world. It's a sport coached by men. Participants are men, officiated by men. And I say that not so much as to say you're a little boy, but the physicality of college baseball, the size of college baseball, it's a big deal. So what advice do you give like high school athletes that are like, say, sophomores right now, juniors right now? Is it play more, or is it, hey, man, get in that weight room, get some skill set underneath you, play local, get bigger, get stronger? I mean, what's the word of advice for the high school athlete?
I mean, number one, I just stay the course, to be honest. I think we're in a social media time, and I'm dealing with it because I got a 15-year-old daughter here pretty soon, and she's going into high school, and I got an 8th grade daughter too. And I think we're just in a time where we're playing the comparison game.
Amen.
And that's never going to get anybody anywhere. We all mature at different times of our life. I'm not the same husband I was on year 1 as I am in year 18. So why I bring that up is because, a lot of the stuff in the sports industry is our families are different, right? Because we're not together all the time. I haven't seen my wife and kids in 4 weeks as of right now. But that's the normal for my family. But we can't compare it to the family that's working 9 to 5 and they go to Disneyland on Saturdays. And that's not our normal. So you can't play the comparison game. It's going to get you down this rabbit hole that you may or may not come out of. You're going to mature differently. You're going to grow physically at different times. Be the best. Dave Snow had this saying, be where you need to be when you need to be there, and be 15. Don't be 18. Be 15 and be right then and there at that point. On the recruiting side, I think there is a place for the high school athlete. I really do. I think what is happening is every team's trying to get older, right? They're trying to the portal has allowed them to get older really quickly. And there again, it's a sign of the times. There's no patience anymore. There's no working for things anymore. There's, it's principle versus preference, right? The preference now is I want to get old and win tomorrow, right? The principle of what we started was to develop men and women in our industry and to have them grow and have them go through these challenging times. And we're not in that right now. So I do think from a high school athlete standpoint, you have to be able to be really, really secure in what you're doing and trust what you're doing. I do think there's value in playing. Hitters hit, right? The only way you're going to hit is you hit often, right? So I think you can't replicate the game reps. The pitching part's a little different, right? You're logging your innings through the year, right? One thing I think pitchers make a mistake of is they log innings for the fall and the spring and the summer separately. You're logging them for the 12-month year. It's nothing more than that, nothing less than that, right? So log them through. You may have thrown 80 in the spring, but what'd you throw in the fall, right? So those are all different things. And how was it high intensity? Was it low intensity situations? But if you want to build programs, I still think there's a place for the program that's building this thing long term. I do believe there again, it goes back into the core values of who you are. I think you can still go build a program and be a super successful program and do what you need to do. It's all a matter of where you stand, what you stand on, and what principles you have, right? Is it principle or preference, right? We would all love to go to Omaha tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. But I know, as you know, this thing takes time to build and to do it. You're building for longevity, not for a quick fix. That's why motivation. I hate the word motivation. Motivation's a sugar high. It's an external unit.
Amen.
It's an external factor, right? Let's remove the external factor out of this thing and let's build for longevity. And that's I know I kind of answered it, but I didn't really answer it. But that's just a little bit of how I feel and what I'm looking for and how I think we want to build this program.
Man, if I'm a parent right now and I've been in that seat and I have a student athlete looking for a college, I'm hard pressed to find somebody with more energy and more enthusiasm than TJ. And it's exciting because I grew up watching Long Beach baseball, and I really enjoy being out in that particular part of the country. So I have to ask this question, last question, from a recruiting perspective. How big of a net do you cast? Do you stay in that Southern California or West Coast, Arizona, up to maybe Oregon or Washington, or do you kind of expand into the Midwest or Southeast or even East Coast? I mean, who wouldn't want to be on the East Coast and surfing in Long Beach and Huntington Beach? I mean, where are you going to be, recruiting? Anywhere and everywhere, or just specific areas of the country?
I think you always got to have your niche, right? You always got to have you got to take care of home base. That's always the thing. But I also think there's an interesting part in how you build your team, right? So one is talent, right? I think the bottom line is along with what we're looking for off the field, what are we looking for on the field? Well, you got to have the talent, right? So the talent, the good part is that I've been in 3 different states. So the net has casted far and wide a little bit more than it was 10, 12 years ago. So now the tentacles can get out into the Midwest now. It can get out into the Northeast, right? it can get into a lot of different places. So the talent, will take anybody's talent, right? And we're at an affordable institution with a really good degree, and a really good baseball program, and you get the chance to live by the beach, right? You're geographically, you can get to a lot of different places within a few hours. So we want to take care of home, but we're willing to go wherever we need to go. Now, are we going to spend half the summer in the Northeast or the Midwest? Probably not. But with the connections that we do have, we go in here and go in there. Number two is character, right? Values and morals. That's what we're always looking for. And those things travel far and wide, right? We got a kid from out of the country, or you got this kid from this part, values and morals, right? The fit. Do they mesh with your style, and do they mesh with the current team and the organizational values? Too many times we're chasing number one only, and that's talent. But we forget about the fit. Can you coach that player with their skill set? Right? That's something that doesn't go into. That's why I think you see the transfer portal going crazy right now too. Is too many times we're too busy, taking this net and getting everybody. We're not being selective how I was taught, right? Is you go get what you think you can help, or where you think this kid can develop. Right. And sometimes it may be you, and sometimes it may not be you. The fix, right? What existing weaknesses does this player possess, and how can you address those? That's another one, right? I just talked about that. The value, how will this player make our organization better? Period. Because there's all values, right? My senior year in college, I was a role player, right? I knew I was in the game at every 7th, 8th, 9th. If I didn't start that day, I was in the game at some way, shape, or form later in the game, because I can defend, and I knew that, and I didn't forget my strength. As much as I want to bang and be there every day and hit every day, I didn't do that. So what was my strength? My strength was the defensive side of the ball, so I knew I had a chance to play every single day. Right? Risk, right? Will the player fully understand their role? Not accept it. I don't want that, but I want you to understand it like that. Like, am I a defensive guy? Am I a pinch runner? Am I a left-handed hitter off the bench? Am I a situational pitcher? Am I a high leverage guy? And I think the last one is trust. In terms of building teams, is trust. Will they be reliable and dependable at all times? Right. So you got so many different facets that you're trying to hit. But we're looking, that's where we're looking for. And if it has to be in South Dakota, if it has to be in New York, then we're going to go find that person. There's a lot of good players in the country. And going back to your previous question, the high school player, there is a lot of really good schools in the country. Too many times we're looking for the shiny toy, and the shiny toy may not be the best fit for us. So go where you can be coached. Go where how your parents have raised you. You need to go to the school that will uphold your parents' values and morals. So when you get sent back to them, you are the same or better than when you left them. It's co-parenting at its best. And that's how I look for it.
Well, if you're a parent or a student athlete and you're listening to Coach Bruce, and you have to know that this is a program. I don't care where in the country you're from. We have 303 Division I college baseball programs, and wherever you can go, play and participate, be coached, and have a great experience as a college student athlete, then that's what you need to do. So whether it's Long Beach, California, or Boston, Massachusetts, college is a 4-year experience, and baseball is a big part of that, but it's not the only part of that. So, TJ, I can't thank you enough. I'm really genuinely excited for your opportunity to go home, to be home. I'm sad that your wife and your children have 4 weeks. That's a long time, Captain. I hope you get to get that thing mended quickly, and maybe they'll all be under one roof soon. But anything that we can ever do in any capacity, please let us know. Parents, I'm going to have all of the Long Beach State University information, the email addresses, the camps, anything that is baseball related to Long Beach State and TJ Bruce, I will have in the description of the podcast as well as the YouTube broadcast. TJ, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you for having me, and go Dirtbags.